We've been doing the startup grinds since May. We started up with the Women's Founders was the one in May, and Liz Robert here actually did that one for us. If you don't know Win Smith, my friend here, actually worked for his organization at Sugarbush and putting in new lifts, and I can let him talk about that, but I really want to thank him for coming in. I really appreciate it. And I think it's kind of the giving back of the community that's important when we have people that are in the business community and running and kind of talking about there. So I really appreciate you coming in and helping us here. This is actually part of Burlington Startup Week. Actually, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Startup Weeks or Techstars. Techstars is the third largest incubator accelerator, in the world. You know, Y Combinator, anybody that's in the startup world would know some of these names. So I think fellows, I spent about 50% of my time in Colorado and brought in this. This is kind of a first one inaugural week for us and kind of trialing it, and it seems to be working pretty successful. But with that, what I want to do is kind of talk to Win and maybe get some insights of him and maybe just kind of ask a few questions. And the first question I would have, Win, is really kind of how did you get started in business, and specifically in Vermont? I'm kind of anxious to hear that story.
Well, it's really serendipitous, because I spent 28 years actually working for a very different organization in New York. I worked at Merrill Lynch for 28 years. So I started as an investment banker. I did a whole bunch of things over that career. In the last 10 years, I ran our non-U.S. businesses. So pretty broad area. We covered probably 60 different countries. We had a large number of client assets, did a lot of privatization work. It was a really interesting time. And I actually thought I'd probably retire in 2014 after 40 years, but there was a new CEO appointed. I was one of 4 EVPs. He was the one that was appointed. And he actually asked me to stay as vice chairman of the firm. It would have paid a lot of money. It would have been, prestigious. But I had a sincere disagreement about the way he was going to take Merrill Lynch. And I really didn't feel I could stay or I'd be a hypocrite. And so I kind of went in. I thought I might give it a year, and halfway through the conversation we started challenging our values and our principles that we all felt very strongly about. I said, Stan, I'm sorry, I can't work for you, I retired. And I walked out and I said, holy shit, so that thing done. But my wife was supportive, my kids were supportive. And interestingly enough, about a few months before that, I got a call from somebody from Warren, Vermont. And he said, I think that Schildge may be for sale. Now, we had skied at Sugarbush. My kids had grown up skiing there. I tried to get there as many weekends as possible. We kind of saw it in a decline. And Les Otten did some wonderful things, but then, which is a lesson for everybody in business, he made a fatal mistake of expanding too rapidly with high-yield debt. So the operations weren't bad, but the capital structure was bad, and we saw a declining business. Skier visits were down, a new manager every year, tremendous deferred maintenance. So the fellow called me and said, I've got another local fellow here. We know the ski business. We think we can run it, but we need somebody to finance it. And there's another guy that's interested. Well, the other guy turned out to be a friend of mine from Wall Street. His child was at GMBS there. He skied there. We got together, and our initial idea was, this makes sense. Maybe we can buy it cheaply. We can kind of do the Wall Street thing. We'll fix it up and we'll flip it and sell it. And about a year and a half after I left Merrill, I said, this is actually something I don't want to flip and sell. This is actually going to be something I'd like to make a second career. And that's what it's become. So I moved to Vermont in 2004, became a resident here, and decided I'd be the owner-operator. So it wasn't planned, I wasn't strategically thinking about it, it just happened.